Do you love the idea of personal growth but find the practice of it exhausting?
We get it.
We're Brandon and Megan Giggling, growth coaches with the mission to put the personal back in personal growth.
If you want a new way of growing into the next version of you without the frustration, guilt, and overwhelm, you're in the right place.
It's time to rethink your growth journey and make it into something that works for you.
You in?
Welcome to Growth Reframed. Hey y'all, welcome back to Growth Reframed. We're so happy you're here. Today we are going to talk about choosing your battles.
Ooh, I love this topic. Like I love all our topics. I feel like I say that every week. But this one's a good one because I feel like, at least for me personally, sometimes I don't always do the right thing, even though I know that there's a lot of benefits to choosing my battles wisely. And I still struggle with that sometimes, so I can't wait to get into this one with you.
Yeah, I think the reality is there's so many different things that can come in our life, that can be happening in the world, that could be happening in our relationship. There's so many different things that come up, whether it's conflict, whether it's just other things you might have to deal with. And sometimes you should choose the battle. You should go into the battle. We've talked about in the past about the battle will come. No matter what, a battle will come. A battle will come in your life, whether that's a health diagnosis, whether that's a struggle with another person, whether that's something you're dealing with internally. Any number of things could come up. And sometimes you have a choice. Like, you don't always have the choice. Like we talk about this episode being choosing your battles. Sometimes you do have a choice. Sometimes you don't. But I think we often, if we're not careful, can fall into getting pulled into other people's battles, choosing battles for ourselves that we don't necessarily need to get into. And today we just want to explore that because I think there's so much involved when you think about things that come up in our lives. And I was thinking about for myself, just different scenarios throughout my life where things have come up where did I really need to choose that battle? Or could I have let it go? Or when I let it go, should I have let that go? Or should I have pursued it more? And I just think it's a really complicated topic when you start looking deeper into it.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I'm just thinking about how one of the things that I feel is an important kind of line is how important that thing is in your life. So when you were talking, I was thinking about, well, our marriage as an example. That's a battle that we ultimately both chose to fight, and marriage and family is very high up on our list of values. So looking back, I mean, yeah, that was a tough battle, but it was absolutely worth it. And number one, because I can see on the other side the benefits and the beauty of our relationship and our family today. But number two, just I do value family and relationships. So that would be one of the things that today or any day I would place high on the list of a battle to choose.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because for me, that was one of the things I thought of too, because for those of you who don't know, back in 2012, I mean, me and Meg were on a crash course to divorce, and we decided to fight. Me at first, and then, Meg coming alongside of me, but like that I wasn't going to give it up, that it was important enough to me that I was going to pursue it. And it wasn't easy, and most battles aren't. Like it was difficult. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of effort. I would argue that marriage as a whole takes a lot of effort no matter what you're doing. It's not like it's always a constant battle, but there is constantly a give and take and things that you have to do and ways that you have to show up. And I think about, in the context of this topic a lot, I think about our relationship because I could have said, screw you, frankly. I could have said, okay, I don't care either. And I'm going to check out and I'm going to see what other women are out there for me. And I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I could have just made that choice. And then I look at my life now, almost a decade later, right?
A decade, yeah. A whole decade.
I look now, a decade later, at the magic and the amazing things that our life has. I mean, we have two beautiful, amazing kids. We've built a life that we absolutely love. We're doing things that we never even possibly could have conceived. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that this is where we would be at now. And when I think about it, a lot of times I'm going to get emotional thinking about it, but it's like what if I wouldn't have done that? What if I would have been really stupid and said, forget all of this. I don't want to delve into the difficult things that this is, because let's be real, a lot of times it's easier to walk away. The easier thing to do is to walk away from whatever it is that you're dealing with. Just avoid it, cut ties with that person, cut ties with that thing, stop worrying, stop caring about it, and just walk away in the other direction. Sometimes that's necessary, y'all. But in this case, the case of our relationship, it wasn't. But I think a lot of times you just make a hip judgment in the moment and then you stick with it because that's like what you decided, or like you try to do the thing and you stick with it because you chose that battle. You chose to like ignite that thing, and or you chose to start that conflict, or you chose to do whatever it was. And I don't know, it's crazy to think about. And some of y'all could probably think in your lives, the times where things were hard and you pursued them anyway, and it turned out to be really great. And I get on the other side of that, it could turn out to be really bad, and maybe you shouldn't have done that. But that's the whole point of this episode, trying to realize when it's something that you should pursue. And like you were saying, Meg, I mean, family, it's at the core of like who we are. Like family is our main value. One of our main values is family, is our relationship together, is the community we have together with each other. So yeah, it makes sense now, but as I'm thinking about it, that I know now, but like we realized that in that moment. Like that was almost tattooed on us in that moment, that family and togetherness and us was going to be at the forefront of our decisions and what we did and how we pursued things. But I think it's really easy to not have that be at your core and be pulled away by the world, or morally or ethically, or however you get pulled away into different things to say, this is the fight that I have to take because ... But is that really what you want? And is that really your battle to fight?
Right. And yeah, and also just the fact that there's like this level, I guess, of battle. Like there's a daily battle, right? Like, do I make my kids eat their dinner or let them slide? Or little decisions that we're choosing, like, am I going to make an issue out of the way I think I heard Brandon just talk to me, or I'm going to let it slide because who cares? It's one blip in the day. Let's just let it go. And then there's, bigger things like that aren't maybe just necessarily tiny little daily battles. There's more of like the bigger battles, like the marriage thing, or big, like you were kind of alluding to, like world situations, like where do I and how do I and when do I get into the fight for a certain belief or a certain cause?
Like, where do I stand? Like they have to like the world will be like, well, we're drawing a line in the sand. You got to pick one side or the other. Where do you stand on this? And I feel like, not to interrupt, but I feel like that's come up so much more often in the last 2 years, even like, where do you stand? I stand here. And if you don't stand there with me, then unfollow me. Or like you don't get a choice. They're like, no, you have to decide. It's not about whether you want to decide or not. They're saying the feeling is you have to decide.
Right. And a lot of times
you want.
Right. And a lot of times, just to be honest, we don't. Like privately we might, but a lot of times we're not necessarily picking up that battle. And we might just, because we need our own personal peace, we might not choose that battle for this second, and we might not choose that cause. And I think that's totally fine, because I think one of the benefits to choosing your own battles and figuring all that out for yourself is that you get to have a little bit more peace in your life, and you get to kind of make those shots. And I think that we underrate peace and tranquility and happiness a lot today. And so if there's a battle that you can avoid, if there's a battle that's not strong on your heart, if there's a battle that doesn't need to be fought right now, then hey, I'm all for just, and it might be that you can't. There are some things that are inexcusable, and I get that. But if it's a battle that can wait, if it's a battle that doesn't have to be fought, then it's many times okay to just pause that and fight the fight on something else that needs a little bit more of your attention right now. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's funny because I had posted a separate video on something on Instagram earlier, and my friend responded, and he was just saying that he said it's just a tricky balance to strike. Like, you know, and he was talking about contentment in your life. And I told him, based on what you were just saying too, I told him, like, I think contentment and like not pursuing conflict or a battle or just being okay where you're at is undervalued so much. And I get it because I'm a fixer by nature, which means I didn't know this until, you know, therapy, but I will put other people in front of me. I had a pattern of putting other people in front of me. I would want to fix something for someone. If someone brought me their battle, I'd want to be the person to solve it. And I'd want to be the person to make sure that it's okay. And I would do that for everyone around me to the detriment of myself, because I wanted to make sure that it was that all of these things were okay. Now, I say that because it's so easy to take on what everyone else is dealing with or what everyone else is struggling with or what everyone else is fighting for. But we miss out on what you were saying, on like having some peace in your life. And one of the things that I've learned, and it's gonna sound really cold, y'all. It sounds cold to me. I'll even admit. I have to actively say to myself when I hear things, when I feel pulled, like when I feel like I should do something, and I know it's not even really my place to do, I literally have to say in my head, that's not your problem. That's not your thing to solve. That doesn't mean I don't care, because that's how it comes off. It comes off crass. It comes off like I don't care. Mm-hmm. Like that's not important to me, so it's not important. That's not what I'm saying at all. So please, y'all, don't take it the wrong way. But it's not my problem to solve. It's not my problem to feel that. It's like I can feel it with people for the moment. I can be there for them, but I don't need to carry that with me because I had a pattern of carrying those things with me. Yeah,
you're starting to choose your battles more wisely.
Right. And that's the thing. If you're not choosy with them, then what do you think happens with all of it when it's floating around in your head? What do you think happens to all of it when you keep putting it in your backpack that you're carrying with you? What do you think that does to the weight on your shoulders? And what do you think that does with how you're going to show up in every other aspect of your life?
Right. I think that, again, another really good thing about being careful with which battles you're taking on is that you're just going to be able to further reduce your anxiety. Because like you were saying, when you were taking on everybody's battles and making them your own, then you were just overwhelmed and there was too much weight on your back. I mean, your anxiety was probably through the roof because all of a sudden, all these issues that were really outside of you are now becoming inside of you. Like now they're yours to deal with and yours to solve. And that was a boundary that you had to set. But thankfully, you are getting much better at it and not taking on everybody else's battles because it's a dangerous place to be.
Well, and I was looking for them too. It's not even like I was just taking them on when they were brought to me. I was actively seeking. I was seeking them so that I could validate myself. Mm-hmm. I was seeking fixing something so I could validate myself. So another great question would be, why are you taking this on? Why is this thing important to you? Like we said earlier, does it go together with your values as a person? Is that why you're being pulled into it? Because that would make, honestly, a lot of sense. But what's the motivation? Why are you doing this thing? Why are you taking it on? And it's a deeper question, and it's one you're going to have to sit with, and it's one you're going to have to ask a lot.
Right. And when you are asking that, I think that just helps you be able to develop your gift of discernment, just to be able to understand, like, these are my motivators, this is why I think this, and then ultimately choose from there, because you do need to be a little discerning in these moments. You do need to understand, what is the right battle for me right now and what's maybe not. And I think that the more questions and the deeper that you can get with that, the better off you'll be in the understanding of what you're going and what you're going to and what you're willing to take on and what you're going to toss off to the side for now.
Mm-hmm. And like you were saying, it did cause a lot of anxiety doing that because it just adds so much more weight. Because like when you're taking on, let's be real, y'all. The world will give you, life will give you enough battles. Like you don't have to go looking for them like I was. You don't have to go taking on other people's causes and other people's problems and other people's things because you feel morally like that's the right thing to do. And again, I say, like, you can listen, you can be there for that person, but that's where it ends. You don't need to carry that on with you. And for me, it really led me to just a terrible, dark place because I didn't have time to fight the battles that I actually cared about anymore. Matter of fact, I wasn't there using any discernment to make sure it was important that I was showing up in the ways that I wanted to. Like, I wasn't showing up in the best way because I was so pulled away on so many other different things. And that's the thing, y'all. It will bog you down. You can only take on so much. And trust me, y'all, you're strong. I know it. You can take on a lot. I'm not discounting the fact of the things you can take on. But how many things are you voluntarily taking on that aren't even yours to take? How many battles are you fighting that you're not even questioning why you're fighting them? Like, what is the intent behind it? Some of the times you'll find like there's really great things and really great fruits that come out of it. Like our relationship. That was a really great battle to fight. It's a continual thing that we fight for. And I say fight for like it's hard, but sometimes it is hard. And it's a choice I make because it's a value at the core of my being. It's like something that's that important to me. But so is my own self-care. And that's come up more prevalently in the last, 6 months. That's another value that I need to take on. Well, I don't know what yours are. But what is at the core of the things you're taking on and questioning, why are you doing the things, like, why are you doing it? Why are you taking these on? Why do you feel like you have to fight it? And are you taking on a lot of other people's battles and problems? And are you doing that for your own worth to say like you're a value?
Or are you just making problems between relationships when there doesn't need to be one? Like, are you creating an issue with a friend, a partner,
yes,
a family member, anyone, doesn't matter who? Are you creating some sort of drama and situation where there doesn't actually have to be one? Because that is not a battle that you necessarily have to fight. You can be annoyed with somebody, you can have a minute with somebody and not turn it into a thing. Like, you can just let it roll off your back.
Oh man, 100%. And we all need to hear that because look, people aren't going to like this, but we make stuff up, y'all. We do stuff because we're bored. We make stuff up. We latch onto a cause because we need something to do. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not what you need to do. Like, you don't need to be making something out of nothing.
Right. Blowing it up out of proportion.
Oh, and we do it so much. Like, every time I'm out, every day, and this isn't a venting session, this is a reality session. Like, people are just making so much out of nothing. Like, they are just creating problems to create them. Mm-hmm. Like
a long line in a store or whatever. Like, you've literally told me so many times that, like, you'll see a video or a article on the Facebook or whatever, and it's like, yes, people are complaining about very long lines at Disney. When have there not been really long lines? Like, man. What are you talking about? Why is this a complaint? Like, we just complain and have something to say and want to pick a battle and pick a fight about little tiny things over and over and over again. And I know we all do it, and I know we're all guilty of it, but like, maybe we could just dial it back a little bit and understand that the world is a hurting, crazy place right now, and maybe just give a little bit of kindness and patience. Just saying.
Right. And again, I'll be real quick because this is a story, but it just came to my mind. So, speaking of which, our daughter's school sells uniforms for her school, and they do like a consignment sale. And, you show up at the school at a certain time, you can go in, you can get used clothes for their uniforms, you can do all the things. Okay, it's something. So we're standing there and literally talk about latching on to things that don't matter. We were standing there in a crowd of people waiting to get in. And I hear a group of people continually growing with people just talking about, why is it taking so long? And why is this line so long? Last year it wasn't this long. And why are they doing this? And why did they choose to do that? And why? And it was like, it was going to drive me insane. And the more people talked about it, the more people got involved in the conversation, to the point where I looked at Meg and I was like, what are we talking about here? What is going on?
Right, like, let's just
go
do our shopping.
And no judgment. Please don't take it as judgment. Like, I do it too. But like, the more we're unconscious of the fact that we're doing this, the more we're going to continue to latch onto this. And the world is such like a dark, difficult place that we're making it to be. And sometimes I think we're just making problems like, hey, Disney's crowded, to just make a problem, y'all.
Amen, brother. Listen, I think that's a great place to stop this episode. So we hope that we've given you some things to think about for this week. And we will see you back here next week. We love y'all.
Thanks for listening to Growth Reframed. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We would love to connect with you, so shoot us a DM on Instagram @Growth Reframed. We love y'all.